Recently I started seeing more and more questions from you guys about whether I'm still in Russia, and if not, where am I? Am I planning to come back to Russia? And am I afraid to go back? And well, right now it looks like a very good time for this update, so sit back, relax, and let's talk about this. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Most of you already probably know that I am not currently living in Russia, and it is not because I ran away from the country when this war started. No, back in 2015 I went to study in America, and since then I was just visiting Russia every year or so. I was even supposed to visit Russia back in May 2022, and this trip was planned long way before the invasion. And paradoxically, one of the main purposes of that trip was for me to take care of my some military documents. And now I'm just realizing that should I have gone at that time, this will just create so many problems right now. Because if you remember from my previous video, people in Russia right now doing everything possible not to deal anything with related to military, because of out of the fears to be enlisted and sent to Ukraine. But anyways, obviously as soon as this war started, there was not a single chance for me, unfortunately, to go back. I mean, it will be relatively easy for me to enter the country. The question will be whether I'll be able to leave it. All my friends, all my relatives, all of my family is still back in Russia, and the majority of my younger male friends, they also left the country whenever this partial mobilization was announced by Putin back in September of last year. And even until now, the majority of them are still living outside of Russia, and I don't think that every single one of them who left the country, they hate Russia. No, in fact, all of them, they want to be back as soon as possible. They left everything behind just to escape this mobilization, for, as they thought, maybe just a maximum of a couple of months. And now, almost 8 months later, majority of them, they still cannot get back. Some of them did these political asylums, some of them they're just extending their touristic visas for as long as possible, and as for me, for the long time I'm already the legal resident of Canada, so in comparison to them, I don't have this much time pressure on me. But this does not cancel out the fact that we all miss our home. All this because of one ridiculously crazy guy in the government who for some reason at the end of his political career decided to do something memorable, and he for some reason found these Nazis, Satanists and other immoral people in Ukraine exactly when the timing suited him the most. I mean, even according to the Russian propaganda, there were no such bad people in Ukraine until recently. It has always been this nice and neighboring country, and a lot of Russians have relatives in Ukraine and vice versa. So putting relatives and friends against each other, breaking families apart, creating years of hatred, and making people leave their homelands. I honestly do not know what kind of person you need to be in order to still proceed with your egoistic goals, but that's, I mean, it's on his conscience, as long as he has one. But eventually the war will be over and people will get back home. But until then, Putin decided to plant this seed of fear into the minds of the Russian men that they can get mobilized and sent into Ukraine pretty much any single day, that they can be prosecuted for discrediting the Russian army by doing something insignificant even as they think. And just in general, Putin created this lifestyle in Russia when you don't even know how drastically your life can change within the next 24 hours. He even made it worse recently by introducing these electronic notifications about you being summoned into the military, and we talked about them in more details in my previous video, so if you want, just go ahead and watch it. And also, while you're doing this, if you don't mind, can you please like this video and subscribe to my channel to help me spread the news of what is actually happening inside Russia. You might think that the majority of Russians we do support this war, that there is a line of hundreds of thousands of volunteers who just cannot wait to be sent into Ukraine and protect their homeland, motherland from these Nazis, but this is simply not true. And it is my channel's main mission to break this stereotype, to save and protect the reputation of Russia at least as much as I can. And you, friends, watching these videos and especially sharing them, you help so much with my mission, so for this I thank you so much. And don't worry, if you're here mainly just for my daily Russian-Ukrainian updates, they're coming already next week. And so yes, as you can imagine, a lot of young, smart and well-educated people left Russia as soon as this war started. Some statistics claim that these numbers are in hundreds of thousands people, probably even millions, and it is even estimated that a total of 10% of Russian IT force have fled the country. Just think about it, 10%. Most of these people are younger guys who go along with the development of the technology and they want to improve it. And now this large workforce is missing. There is even a saying right now in Russia among the people who are most certainly against the war, and it goes as following: if you are smart enough, you should have left. And this one phrase uncovers two simple truths. The first one is that if you're smart enough, you realize that this is the invasion. Whatever Putin did is horrible, and there is no way you can support it. There is simply no explanations and no excuses. And the second thing is that once again, if you are smart enough, you should have left. Because while this whole thing is going, unfortunately there is no future for you in Russia. And Russia does not have a future without such people. Or at least not the future we all hoped for. And the same thing goes for me. I had such a huge hopes to bring my expertise back in Russia, to share my knowledge with my friends, and to even help my father in his business endeavors. And just in general to spread at least a little bit of this Western culture inside Russia, to show some of my unfortunately brainwashed friends and relatives that not a single American is a bad person, that not a single European is an uncultured swine, that simply there are no good or bad countries, there are only good or bad people, and there are also bad people in Russia as well. And unfortunately it turned out to be that the majority of them are ruling the country. But so yes, unfortunately in the near future I will not be able to go back to Russia. I will not be able to see my best friends getting married, getting kids, and I won't be able to celebrate my relatives' birthdays with them. The only thing left for me to do at this very moment, to help my country at least from the abroad, is to keep making these videos and to hope that people will start thinking differently, both inside and outside of Russia. And just once again I thank you so much for helping me with my mission. Please subscribe and see you on Wednesday.